I'm Dana Han-Klein here with Lily Amirpour for The Bad Batch.
I gotta know, where was the inspiration for this movie from?
It's always hard to fully explain and pinpoint. Is that because it's a multi-branched kind of thing? But if I follow the branches back to one thing, it was when I started thinking about it. It was when I was editing Girl Walk. I started writing, and I was wanting to do the next film. And at that time, I was going through some shit in my own life that was kind of violently ripped apart my fabric of my reality of who I was. If a relationship ends or someone dies or if you move or lose a job or something like that, it does feel like you lose part of yourself. And then you have to kind of acquaint yourself with the now new you. And so I just had this image of this girl missing an arm and a leg in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the desert, of the vast unknown, just bleeding. But she was alive, and she was gonna go on. And that was the beginning of the movie. And then I kind of built the fairy tale that would allow that scene and that moment to exist. So that's kind of how it started.
I find it interesting that you call it a fairy tale, just because it's the most dystopian fairy tale, if that. Or, so are you someone who likes to dig into research when you start to write a movie? Or do you did you go to apocalyptic, no man's land colonies? Did you research cannibalism?
I think everything is dystopia. I don't understand utopia at all. I think reality is that it's really, really a fucked up, savage, man-eat-man world, and that we have to create our bubbles of comfort, totally like a survival thing, and we do that, and it makes sense, and I do that, because how else are you going to get through a day? Slab City, where I shot a lot of the movie at the Salton Sea in the desert in California, down south, those people, there's 20,000 people living off the grid in the desert now. It's not the future. They're choosing to do it in a way, but also I feel like some of them feel like they have no choice but to do it. They don't really feel like they fit or understand how to fit and be in this world. So I don't feel like it. I feel like it's reality. I feel like it's pre-apocalyptic.
I feel it's not that distant future potentially. And it's interesting because you wrote it a while ago, right? And
3 years.
Right, and now it takes on a different context and life of its own. And
trippy.
Do you find as a filmmaker
the sign at the beginning of
do you get tripped out by that?
Of course. Of course. Given what's happened since January here, that's a little bit like a fortune cookie being you're gonna, that's, and it's not actually what you want when you imagine. I feel like fantasy and sci-fi, a lot of the time, the fantasy films that I like and the big kind of savage fairy tales that I like, there are about, Lord of the Rings. It's about, the fabric of humanity is at risk. And there's a very small faction of people that want to fight to keep it. And never-ending story. Then nothing is consuming the world. And it's up to a very few people to just save what's good. And that's the kind of, I don't know, for whatever reason, that's something I'm very attracted to. I think it's just the ingredients of this film are familiar. They're made out of this world for me. So it ended up being a little bit representationally, I don't think it's comfortable if it's too you're oh, that seems a little close to home or something, but because I don't think want to believe that that's how it is. It'd be much nicer if shit was a Nancy Meyers movie for everybody.
Right, but life isn't a Nancy Meyers movie.
No, sure isn't. It can be for 2 hours though.
This is true. I
fucking love her. I love her movies, and I look forward to her next one. Her and Nora Ephron are comfort food.
Well, so where do you like draw cinematic inspiration from, or do you try not to look to other like filmmakers?
I look everywhere for inspiration, wildly and with like relish. I love like everybody's creativity, not just in movies. It's like everything. Photographers, art, music, like everything, like places and events and things, like whatever is giving me a boner, I am just like, thank you for, it's just love. It's like, how nice is it that there's so many things in the world to feel love for? It's like a fucking good feeling. And I love movies, and I love so many filmmakers for so many different reasons. I love Nancy Meyers. I love Robert Zemeckis. I would actually say that he's my Orson Welles.
I feel like he also is very good at building worlds. Is that where you...
I love that he builds worlds and takes you on an epic adventure. I love that his movies are always somewhere in the fabric of them about something meaningful and deep. Like Marty McFly in Back to the Future, they are questioning, like, can you, like, control your fate and your life? It's about freedom and shit. That's like real.
Well, it's also about, is it a good idea to do that? You know, like I love the morality of.
Yeah, that's true. But I like the idea. For me, I think I was a little kid, and Back to the Future was like, as an immigrant coming to America, was like one of the movies I really grabbed onto and understood in a way where I just felt like the magic was that you can do anything. And be anything. The future is just up to what direction you want to put it in. I think that's optimistic as fuck, and I think that's what like is the best stuff about America, even despite all the horrible things that we have to try to figure out right now, which is overwhelming.
I think optimism is an interesting point because, Suki Waterhouse's character is like weirdly optimistic in it, right? Like she's just
this one.
Yeah, she just kind of keeps on going, and like it's so easy.
That way, it says something about you.
Really?
Yeah, in a good way.
That's possible. But I was like, those are circumstances where you could just give up so easily at any point. But I loved seeing her kind of journey and being like, nope, not gonna do it. Just gonna keep fighting and crawling on a skateboard, through the desert.
Yeah.
But you don't see like that as
totally.
Who do you kind of do you identify with any of the characters in particular, or are you kind of an amalgam of?
I don't identify with her as much theoretically because she's pretty dumb. I mean, she thinks Hawaii and Cuba are in the same, like, she's a dumb girl, but unsophisticated. But she's brave. I think that she's a fighter, and I always respect someone who fights, no matter what. And I think, like, for me, one of the big things I cared about with Bad Batch and was interested in thinking about was, like, the systems that we exist in, all these different people. If you really want to look at it and be honest about like human existence right now, even the people doing the most heinous things, they feel justified in their reality. Like everyone is right because they're them and that's their human life. And they have a reason for how come they think how they do. Even though like it seems crazy to me or you or someone else, it's like they have suffered or they have been put into a crazy system. And there's so many of them, these systems that we have to deal with. And yeah, I think what I like about Arlen is that she just keeps looking beyond the walls that are around her. I do like that. I don't relate to her per se. I do relate, probably out of all of them, I would say the Hermit the most. And I can't help it. A Miami Man, I also really feel a close connection. He'll do whatever he has to do, but I feel like he's really an artist soul. You know?
Well, literally, he's an artist.
He is. So I think he has a romantic view of life, even though it's so fucked up what he has to do in life.
I think, isn't that the purpose of art, though, to find, like the beauty in life, and the artists are the people who are drawn to kind of...
Yeah.
But it's so you got. I mean, I know you've had to talk. I won't make you talk about it, but like Jim Carrey's, the Hermit, and like your cast is ridiculously awesome. How do you assemble a cast like that?
Yeah, it's like, it's funny if you look at it now in that way. It's like, holy fuck, it is. It's like amazing. And when you're making a movie, it's like thing by thing, and it just kind of makes sense as it's falling into place. It was like Momoa and Suki were in the beginning, and I was building out the world and the locations, and then Keanu was like, I think the next one, and it was just like the dream. Once he was the dream, it was kind of just like, and I don't know, it just, you know what it's like? It's like, honestly, to me, it's like, I don't know if you remember being like 9 years old and you want to play a game and you're like, okay, here's the game. The princess is trapped in the castle and there's dragons over there. You have to cross this fiery lava moat and there's man-eating rabbits with razor sharp teeth in the forest. Go. And like, there's some people that are like, okay. And there's some people that are like, I don't want to play the game. My mom forced me to come over. And I'm just like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So all the people that were like just into the game were into the game. And when you're playing the game, you don't even think about other stuff. It was just like with Keanu and Jim, they were just like, they got the script as much as anyone could that wasn't me. They were like, I want to like fall into this world and do this completely crazy entity. Because for Giovani, it's pretty different than what you've seen him do. Ever.
And Jim?
And Jim. It's like, and I think that's also one of the joys for an actor is they get to disappear. They don't get to do it that much when they become a certain kind of Hollywood star.
I think it's like the perception of them gets
it's hard to
set in stone, right?
And
I didn't know it was Jim Carrey until the very end. I really didn't. I was like,
my mom didn't either.
That was Jim Carrey. That's who. I did look it up. I was like, who is Jim Carrey?
Amazing.
That's awesome.
See, but I love that. That's the whole point.
But I think it also speaks to your working with them and seeing like this is someone who I think understands the work and can like understand the vibe of this and meshes well with it.
Yeah.
But like, kudos.
He is the hermit.
Apparently, I wouldn't have known that until
he really got it.
So
you gotta like for Jim Carrey, who's like this phenomenon, cultural, global, like thing, to understand the value of this character in this story, who only has a few scenes and doesn't say a word, that just shows you who he is. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like he's so special.
I'm curious. So the sound was really interesting and important to me, at least, and I feel like it really dictated the experience because the lack of dialogue. Yeah, the sound. And for you, as someone who's been pretty open about being, like hard of hearing, do you experience sound differently in that sense? Like, does it become even more important to you?
It is, yeah. I think for sure. I think always I think everything about who you are, how you view the world, what you've been through is going to become a part of like the filter or lens through which you understand the world and want to tell a story. And I mean, I have 70%, so it's a lot. So I'm not like that hard of hearing, but at the same time, 30% is also a significant amount. So it's enough to where there's always in my life been times where I disconnect from stuff I can't hear, and I just kind of give up to even try and just kind of go into my own perception of that moment, which is usually what people are doing, how they look, the details of what is in the room, how it smells or sounds like on different sounds, not like dialogue, like what conversation. And then some of it is also like just, I grew up watching like action movies and westerns and cop thrillers with my dad, and I like action. I love 127 Hours. Although Franco's talking to himself a lot in it. But I love No Country for Old Men. And just like watching these two characters in the physical world, like second by second, that tense adrenaline. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah.
That's all. Yeah. But it's
then you feel it. It's like a sensory experience. Like you feel like you were somewhere. You feel like you're the one pinned under the rock, and like, what am I gonna do? Did you like that movie?
127 hours? Yeah, well, I'm not good with squeamish things, which is hilarious.
So
well, not
intense.
hilarious, because then I started watching this, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna die.
Did it affect you?
Oh yeah,
oh my god.
But I was still like so morbidly curious as to where it was gonna go, and I knew it wasn't the crux of it, right? This isn't really about cannibals. It's about that's a factor of their society. It's just part of their morality, right?
Yeah.
But you just went like all in that beginning.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did it like physically like?
Yeah. Well, when I was.
What was the most like for you of all the violent stuff?
Oh, the saw in the very beginning,
yeah,
absolutely.
Totally.
Because and then at that point you're like, this is what they do. And so by the time Miami Man is dismantling this human, I guess this is just what they do. And I feel like you weirdly kind of internalize it. And you're like, yep, people are meat now. That's just what it is.
Yeah, I was thinking about this week. It's like, do you know in like, let's just say this week, how many movies you've seen or TV shows you watch?
Yeah.
How many deaths or violent things happened in however many TV shows you watched in this week? Like, how many deaths did you watch and completely feel nothing and just have numbness to? And it's just like, exploding building and like all, Yeah. And it's just like, I feel like that shouldn't be. I feel like you should notice when violence happens. Like, it should really.
No, we're super desensitized to it. And so, but then I think seeing it like, for lack of a better word, embracing and being slow about it and showing it to us. It's definitely, but it wasn't like gratuitous, right? It's not.
Yeah.
I'm curious if someone was to eat you, how would you want them to cook you? How would you want to be served? Like, you're not dead.
Wanting it eaten.
But like, if you had to give up a leg and someone was going to eat it, would
my
you
leg?
Be like, let's say like a tibia.
Fajitas. That'd be good, because then it doesn't look like a leg. You want to like get rid of that whole part of it.
Okay, so you want it to be unclear.
Not like some people like bone marrow and stuff like that, where it's no, I like it to like turn into looking like food. Like, I don't want it to look like medieval time.
Okay.
Like I like a leg, like leg fajita, or like a burrito. You could chop it up, dice it up, carne asada.
Yeah, could be delicious.
Carne asada me, I think I'd be a delicious al pastor taco.
You heard it here. All right, so
pineapple, cilantro.
No, I'm just hungry. Who was your favorite childhood fictional hero or heroine?
What a good question. I love that question. I loved The Neverending Story, and I loved Atreyu, the warrior that like Bastian when he's reading. You've seen them.
Oh yeah.
I loved Atreyu so much. I had a crush on him, and I just loved him. And he's so brave, and he's just like, Tex, yes, like I'm on a mission, and he's just a kid, and all this responsibility was on him, and oh my god, I loved him. And I love Marty McFly and Doc Brown. I loved the kid in Terminator 2.
Interesting.
What a hero. Like, also a kid, because I was a kid, and it's like, he's 12 years old, and the fate of the future is in him. And everyone's like, he doesn't have power in his life. I think that's the same thing with Back to the Future. He's like, Marty McFly is like, kind of like, like he's got to kind of rise up to the challenge of, who else did I like? Oh my god, I loved Richard Donner's Superman. Christopher Reeve.
Yeah. OG.
I loved him. Who else did I love? Who was some of your?
I wanted to be Spock.
Spock?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Spock. I was also not allowed to watch a lot of things growing up, so I had Star Trek and Sesame Street. Those were the only two things I had.
Sesame
So
Street.
Yeah. So
who did you like in Sesame Street?
Cookie Monster.
Yeah,
that's just because I really
Monster,
there's a theme. There's a food theme here.
So good.
Okay, so my very last question is, and it might be a thinker, but how do you define success?
Success is such a weird thing. I don't think there is such a thing. I think it's like an ongoing process of being in the moment. and feeling like every day you were honest. And honesty is uncomfortable. So I'm not talking about happiness or comfort. I think honesty can be actually uncomfortable. I just want to be honest, because if a meteor came and hit, like right now, I'd be like, we had this conversation and we like shared shit and it meant something to me and you know what I mean? Like, and then the meteor came and it was over.
That's a success, though, in my book. No, seriously, like, it's like, it doesn't always have to be like a huge mountain climbing thing.
Yeah,
it's like, like, we did it.
Yeah.
we did
it. We were here.
We survived it.
We smelled the roses in this basement.
In this very small basement.
Don't kill me, please.
Oh, God.
Get this note to my mother. I love her, okay? And my father. I love you guys, Mom and Dad. Okay? It's like 120.
I don't know. And on that note, thanks for the congrats on the film.